Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can see me or hear me, so if you do, if you could just message in the chat really quickly. Doesn't have to be anything long. Let's see. Hope all is well. Hey, Emma. I love that you guys all just started messaging on this chat and just saying hi to each other. I'm like, oh, I don't have to do any work. You guys just already know what to do. Love it. Yes, thank you, Travis. Thank you, Tempe. Hi, Tina. Hi, Stephanie. I'm going to go through all of these names. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Sam. Hi, Travis. I think I already said hi again earlier. Hi, Sydney. Hi, Talia. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Mario. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Cheryl again. I think I already said that. I can't remember. Hi, Angel. And then someone has all their emojis as their name, so I'm not too sure how to read your name, but hello to you. Heart, smiley face. Dope. So I'll be really honest. As you guys all probably know, I love to live life on the edge. And so I actually have nothing prepared when it comes to an introduction. I do, of course, have performers prepared though, and they're going to be fucking awesome. And thinking about what I wanted to say tonight, and I know that there's some people who are still coming in, especially those who are coming in from the West Coast. Thank you. I know that there's wacky time zones, wacky wildfires going on over there. But here for all of you, just so happy that everyone can make it. There will be, of course, more of these events down the line, and we're going to expand into not just spoken word, but also virtual art, rapping, comedy, magic. Honestly, I want to showcase all the talent that we have in this nation, but right now I'm just focusing on North Carolina because I want to stay local to my community. I am definitely a little nervous because this feels very weird, but felt called to do this. So I'm glad that y'all are here. In terms of our performers tonight, obviously you'll get to hear everyone's pieces when they come on stage and share with y'all. Met them through different means. One of my, challenges I wanted to take on was just to see how far my network could go, because I moved to North Carolina without knowing anyone here. So kind of like to challenge myself a lot in different ways. And so wanted to put on a spoken word event, gave myself about a month and a half to do it. Super appreciative of all these folks coming on tonight. They have invested time and energy. We've been doing tech rehearsals, so that's been awesome. I'm just so appreciative of everyone's time, especially those who also came tonight. We wouldn't, we can't perform without an audience, and an audience can't exist without performers. So we need all of each other in this movement, in this time period, and all of this. So thankful for everyone that's here. I have so many pieces that I wanted to share, but I felt like no matter what, I was just never going to be happy with any of them. That's totally fine because that's how life works. But I like all my pieces, so that's fine. Okay, so this is a piece that I wrote out early on when, a few months ago, kind of as a response to this year's Black Lives Matter, kind of just hit me in a way that was different. It made me realize, I guess, the way that our country had perceived the nation for too long. And that, I guess, living in my bubble or living in my mindset, I didn't realize, some people don't know racism exists and that it's systemic. And that was definitely a reality check in a lot of ways. Fucking Cheryl. Because I guess I was just shocked because I always think everyone's like me. So that definitely was an interesting moment. So I just had a lot of energy about that, and I wrote down these thoughts. Honestly, it doesn't matter who is president. It matters who our leaders are. It matters who we are. Every day we wake up, our duty of being human is not to be a bystander. To not be a bystander to ourselves and our powers. To not be a bystander to our friends who are hurting. To not be a bystander when we pass by someone in need. We need to listen to ourselves more, heal our wounds, understand where they came from. The better we understand ourselves, the better we understand the world. Our pain is shared, so is our love. We are human beings, we are social beings. We need each other more than ever.
I don't believe in war. I have always been a pacifist. But I realized after these past few days of taking a more conscious approach and using social media, war is inevitable, inevitably upon us. People are going to keep dying at the hands of white supremacy. Whether it is a slow drawn death like footballers from concussions, here you may draw a correlation between which skin color is usually found under the helmets, how much research about the helmets was never shared for a long time, and how much money is being thrown around surrounding the so-called sport. Or a quick death. I don't believe I need to provide any imagery for this.
I ask us all, how many more deaths are we okay with before we recognize this is systemic enslavement and genocide? The call to action shows up in many ways. There's no right way, but there certainly is a wrong way. We cannot not do anything. The bystander effect is why we have allowed so many deaths to continue. Each time we put ourselves on the line for humanity, that is love, that is courage. Because if we are going to die one way or another, wouldn't we rather do it while trying to save someone? That's why people become doctors. That's why people become lawyers. I remind us all that it is important to make a distinction between those that go into it for the work and those that go into it for the title. It is also crucial to recognize that a lot of people are doing the work without the titles. Usually that's because of the discrimination of our school systems in the United States. Think of how systemically unjust it is to have degree requirements for a lot of these different jobs. Jobs that most definitely do not require a burnable certificate, but rather the experience, attitude, and willingness to learn. That's why we have artists, we have speakers, we have writers. That's why we have filmmakers, politicians, news reporters. We are all trying to do our best. We are all trying to change the world.
Thank you for listening. And now that I have shared my piece, I welcome on, thanks Tina, I welcome on, thanks Giovanni, I welcome on, sorry, I'll get to this point. I welcome on our next poet, Will.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm the next poet, Will Mayo, and I have lived a pretty fortunate life. And that's largely due to my father's service in the military. It helped me through school, and it taught me a lot about sacrifice and what goes into securing this place that we love. And that security was wrenched away from us about 19 years ago. And that was a pretty dark time for this country. But we unified as a people, and we overcame it, and we rose above. And we're living in somewhat dark times now. And I think we can unify and rise above now. And we need to do that because division is not how we do things here in the United States. So without further ado, here's my piece called Unity. United. At least we're supposed to be. But somehow recent decades filled with escapades have escalated to a mutiny of the spirit from the body. The land of shining stars and earning stripes is now of Zanny bars and taking lives. Body. Why do you think we're covered in ink? We are not allowed to feel clean in the skin we're born in. Maybe if I cover myself in colors, they won't notice my pale body. But what of my soul? If you stood in these gilded souls and ran over the coals, it would burn less for a moment. You can borrow them if you like. Watch your back, though. Once your souls are gilded, that's what they'll come for. Maybe if they poured gold over us, we won't mind the burning. As it consumes us, we will live out a fever dream inspired by an endless stream of floating screams. Quick, turn up the volume to cover the screams. But wait, there's more. Screams will fill the screens where laughter was before. I guess we got bored. Idle hands make for idle worship. We pray to the gods of economy, hoping they will restore the harmony, hoping they will resolve the dissonance between our hearts and our minds. Our minds have been trained to classify, to constrain our identity to a few key words. I am white, I am man, I am privileged. I am tired of being expected to spread ignorance. When I say patriot, it does not mean hatred. I am American. My blood runs thick with Saxon strength and native tradition. I am American. I see a future where love and understanding outweigh fear. I am American. I am not a bleeding heart liberal. I am not a crotchety conservative. I am not a trumpet or a bicycle or a burner. I am not defined by any one thing. I'm defined by the beautiful tapestry of culture that surrounds me. I am American. Are you? Thank you.
Thank you, Will. You're welcome to leave off stage at any time. Thank you, Will, again for sharing your piece. And our next poet that we'll bring, yes, Tina and Tammie, beans. Yes, Theo, we are all American. And that is the thing that I want to clarify as well for tonight. And again, thank you, Will. It's just the fact that we need to redefine what it is to be American. You know, we are all American no matter what we look like. If we live here, no matter our citizenship status, we are American. And, you know, people want to divide us, but that's where we come in strong. We come from such beautiful, diverse backgrounds. We can heal so much together with the stories that we bring with us. So yes, thank you. Love it. Love the love on the chat. Keep sharing the love on the chat. Feel free to send all the emojis even throughout. That's what I've always loved about spoken word spaces. You know, just kudos to someone while they're saying it, just sending warm hands, warm energy towards them. So feel free to even message during the chat just to keep sending performers on stage love. But also you don't have to, no pressure. But yeah, if you feel called to, don't worry, you're not interrupting. That's the beauty of Hopin, which again, thank you for registering and getting on here. I know it's a new tool, so it's kind of rough to work with. But I appreciate this platform a lot when I saw Amanda Seals use it for one of her events. And so I just wanted to copy her. All right, so thank you again, Will, and we will have our next poet, Speed. Awesome. Hey, Speed.
Hello, hello.
I just wanted to check, you were gonna share a few pieces, right?
Correct. I
will. Awesome, I'm so excited. So I'm just gonna, for tech purposes, I'll just wait for you to either say something or just like, who knows? There will be a long pause probably, and I'll recognize it.
I feel like everybody will be able to figure it out.
Have fun.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Speed. As I just mentioned, I have 3 pieces that I will be sharing. The first one is kind of personal, and then the other 2 are kind of along the lines of what Tammie was saying in regards to the police brutality and all of that nonsense that's going on here in this great nation that we have. I'm gonna get started. What once brought me peace now reminds me of death. Dark clouds cover a sunny day's feast, scattering to pick up the pieces of happiness that were left. Running into a new type of beast when I realized I was a victim of theft. My natural remedy to clear my mind has ceased as I watch the deceased be put to rest. Watching the rainfall yet again clear away the river of tears and blood, wishing the storm would pass rather than waiting for the streets to flood. I've seen this one too many times for comfort, rather predictable, some would say. Wondering why this was the last resort, knowing it didn't have to end that way. Wipers wash away the rainfall, and he didn't get to see today. 40s poured on the concrete where he last laid. Fragments of a disaster embedded in the streets, causing me nightmares, waking me from my sleep. What were once soft whispers that lulled me after defeat are now loud screams causing me to count sheep. Trying to hold on to something that I'm not supposed to keep. I'm stumbling in the front lawn knowing that the staircase is too steep. The flickering street lights highlights my cheek. My shadow appears to be dancing over the peak. I look over the edge and acknowledge my weakness, and still, we don't speak. Trouble follows me as if I'm leading a herd of sheep. My nightmares have become my reality, so I can't even escape in my sleep. Putting things aside, lying to myself, saying, I'll get to it next week. I'm contemplating giving up. I may have reached defeat. I'm hesitant because the closing ceremony is never cheap. Sitting still with no intention, I'm crumbling in the streets. I'm laughing at my mistakes, hoping karma and I never meet. I'm dancing with the devil, trying not to step on his feet. I'm prancing on pebbles, hoping not to cut myself too deep. My jaw is sore, I could no longer hold on by the skin of my teeth. Through darkness and not handling my grief. Fumbling through relationships and being called a thief. For stealing hearts and never returning them in one piece. But I warned you from the beginning to proceed with caution because I'm like a pit off the leash. All the while I'm trying to avoid war because I'm really just looking for peace. I'm going to read this poem forwards and backwards, just as a heads up. If you're confused and you're like, this kind of sounds familiar, it does. All right. Let me take you on this thriller, where the air is cold and the wind is bitter, where anyone wearing the right costume can be the next commended killer. Lifeless bodies lie in the streets while mothers shiver and siblings quiver, and the man who pulled the trigger is only concerned about his dinner. And the city's coming up ways to prove he's still a winner, and that it was self-defense and necessary to make that pool of blood a river. Time passes and everyone forgets, because it's just another dead nigga. This has become our norm. It's not really a thriller. When they look at us, you can tell the taste in their mouths is bitter. Real life, no mask needed, and you'll always be a heroic killer. We walk by the men who are supposed to serve and protect, and we quiver. Our stomachs are turning, and now the victim's family can't afford dinner. And the dead boy who had a bright future is labeled a thug and never a winner. 40s and tears combine in attempts to wash away this bloody river. And the officer's still getting paid because it's just another dead nigga. And the officer's still getting paid because it's just another dead nigga. 40s and tears combine in attempts to wash away this bloody river. And the dead boy who had a bright future is labeled a thug and never a winner. Our stomachs are turning, and now the victim's family can't afford dinner. We walk by the men who are supposed to serve and protect, and we quiver. Real life, no mask needed, just a badge, and you'll always be the next heroic killer. When they look at us, you can tell the taste in their mouths is bitter. This has become our norm, and it's not really a thriller. Time passes and everyone forgets because it's just another dead nigga. They say it was self-defense and necessary to make that pool of blood a river, and the city's coming up with ways to prove he's still a winner. And the man who pulled the trigger is only concerned about his dinner. Lifeless bodies lie in the streets while mothers shiver and siblings quiver. Anyone wearing the right costume can be the next commended killer. Where the air is cold and the wind is bitter. Let me take you on this thriller. Last one. To the little black boy that likes playing in the sun. To the little black boy who just learned how to run. To the little black boy who wants nothing but to have fun. They're killing your kind, pin you to the ground as you look down the barrel of their gun. To the little black boy who never met his dad. To the little black boy who was always labeled bad. To the little black boy who seemed extremely sad. They're killing your kind with no sympathy to be had. To the little black boy who followed every rule, to the little black boy who had perfect attendance at school, to the little black boy who learned to use every tool, they're killing your kind and labeling you the fool. To the little black boy who never had a chance, to the little black boy who never got to dance, to the little black boy who just wanted to take a stance, they're killing your kind and then they're given a second chance. To the little black boy who was just walking home, to the little black boy who was trying to use his phone, to the little black boy who had a heart of stone, they're killing your kind and they'll break every bone. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that definitely, I feel like I just needed a moment after hearing that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing 3 pieces too. They were all very beautiful and powerful. Yeah, I feel like I need a bit more time, but if next poet is ready, you are welcome to come on whenever. We'll have a break in like a few, so that will give us a chance to stretch, to use the bathroom, to breather if we need it. Oh, I totally forgot that there's like a whole other chat going on in the stage. I just was looking at the event. Hey, Kevin. Dope, love it. Okay, cool. Giovanni, take the stage. I will head off.
Hello, everybody. My name is Giovanni. I will be sharing 2 pieces today, both related to quarantine, but I wrote these back in like 2014. Still relevant. The first one is called Room. I felt a little enclosed as I sat lonely in my room. That's when I pushed open the roof so I could gaze at the moon. I felt I lacked color as I sat lonely in my room. So I stripped off the floorboards and let red roses bloom. I felt terribly uninspired as I sat lonely in my room. And so I wrote poetry on the walls from midnight to noon. I felt I had it all, but the only thing I really knew is that I have the moon, roses, and poetry, but I'm still lonely in my room. The next piece is called Pensive. This one is about the nights that you are tossing and turning and you can't go to sleep. Pensive. I go to sleep every night as my own worst critic. Pensive about love, life, and who's in it. Is this the right path? Have I made it too rigid? Will I be successful? Can I be prolific? Am I becoming better with each passing day? If I ever kissed her, what would she say? Mistakes I've made, rewind and replay. Is this best for me? Is there another way? Am I simply meant to do and later understand? Could I have done better with the knowledge at hand? Is there a creator who predetermined my plans? And if they can hear me, just say that you can. Should I reinvent myself and let the waves wash the sand? If we're just dust in the wind, what's the power of one man? If you ask my friends, could they tell you my brand and does it align with who I think that I am? No me doy el beneficio de la duda. Cumple 28 y confío en ninguna. Paso las noches admirando la luna, durmiendo durante el día hasta que la noche nos reúna. I go to sleep every night as my own worst critic, pensive about love, life and who's in it. I'm a poet, enjoying every vicious minute because I go to sleep every night as my own worst critic. Thank you.
Thank you, Gia, or Giovanni. I don't know if you prefer Gia or Giovanni, but
Doesn't matter.
thank you for sharing that. Damn, I love how powerful everyone is tonight. Definitely need like a moment after each person to just like let it sink in, and love everyone that's commenting in the chat. Yes. And just an FYI, I showed it earlier, but I will probably when we're networking, I'll have the Instagrams and just social media for our performers. I'll just do a screen share and run through the PowerPoint that I have. All right, so now we are going to bring on Theo from Red Tractor Provisions, who is our sponsor for this event tonight. He's going to talk a bit about how to get a produce bundle. So there's a few different bundles that you can get from Red Tractor, and you can check their website online at redtractorprovisions.com. I'll just double check that Theo can hear me. But they are a local business, of course, and supporting local farmers as well, which is awesome. And that's something that I personally have wanted to implement in my lifestyle more and more, make sure I know where my money's going. I'm uplifting, my neighborhood, my community, because ultimately I think we've learned that that's the environment that most impacts us during times like the quarantine or just in general when you're living your day-to-day life. Okay, awesome. Theo, you can hear me. Feel free to hop on stage. And so Theo is one of the founders of our Red Tractor Provisions, and he's jumping on now to join us. Hey, Theo. Awesome. Yay. So as you probably heard me, I was just telling everyone about how awesome you guys are. And I personally just got myself a bundle, have started my subscription, and each bundle is only $22. But if you want to donate, then, or depending on the subscription service, I guess it varies. But it's awesome because of course it's fresh, it's seasonal, Tammie's reaction. And, just this week I got an eggplant. I got some, what were the grapes called? I know they're local to North Carolina.
Muscadine. So you get scuppernong and muscadine.
Super delicious. Yes. And then candy onions and okra, which was dope. I love eating okra dipped. Yeah, D. I love boiling okra and then dipping it in wasabi and soy sauce. Like I learned this from my family in southern China, and I was just like, what the fuck? This is like the best thing that's not sashimi and in wasabi and soy sauce. But anyways, I'll let Theo take the stage, and he's going to show you the website. He's going to show us the website and show us how to get yourself. I know that some of you aren't in North Carolina, which is totally fine, but this is also just a recommendation to look into your local farmers, local businesses, and see how you can support the agriculture within your own state.
Okay, thank you. So, excuse me. I'm going to do things a little bit differently. So like I had planned on showing you guys a commercial and try to sell you on produce, but like quite frankly, I'm tired of selling. Like I think that is what's wrong with our food system in general, is selling and making it this adversarial system. Our system is broken. Like if I have to sell you on providing a living for your local farmers, then shit's too late. Like shit's too far gone. Like I don't think people really realize what we have here in North Carolina. Like we have the opportunity to fix a broken system. I come from Chicago, and in Illinois, like, there's just corn and soybeans. Like, I had no choice but to eat bullshit in Chicago. Like, yes, I could go to Whole Foods, but I can't fucking afford Whole Foods. So, like, that's what drove me to create this, is I don't want my daughter to eat bullshit. And I don't want your daughters or your sons to eat bullshit. Like, so, like, I don't give a fuck about money. Like, this company is ran by 3 fucking people. It is me, my partner Forrest, and Kelsey. Like, that's it. So, like, there's no overhead. All the money that we take from the people in our community goes right to farmers, because, like, that's how we're going to impact, that's how we're going to create change. That's how we're going to change the system. If we can incentivize farmers to grow the right shit, then they will grow the right shit. If people can make money feeding people, then people will do it. But if we keep going to Whole Foods that's owned by Amazon that doesn't give a fuck about you, and if we keep going to Walmart that doesn't give a fuck about you, then shit's not going to change. So yeah, that's my sales pitch. Red Tractor Provisions. Thank you.
I really just wanted to come on and say thank you for saying all that, because yes. And then are you going to go ahead and screen share? I'll hop off.
Well, I can screen share the website. Yeah, because it's a pretty website, and Kelsey worked really hard on it.
Yes, it is beautiful. Okay, I'll hop off. I just really wanted to say something verbally.
So, like, this is our beautiful website. This is one of our farmers who grows our lettuce. He actually just moved to Alabama, though, but it's still going. We do wholesale. Obviously, we care about our community. And then show you some of our options. So as Tammie was telling you, one of our best selling items is our produce bundle. So like, this is the best way to get what is fresh and seasonal right now. Since we buy from small farms, like, we can't necessarily give you the same thing every time, but we guarantee we're giving you something that came out of the ground like less than a week ago. And not many produce distribution companies can say that. And like, that's one of the problems with our system is like, the produce has to go from place to place to place. Sometimes produce can go to like 4 places before it gets to the grocery store. And every time it's waiting in a refrigerated warehouse, you're losing nutrients that you can get from that vegetable, and you're losing shelf life. Like, I've talked to some of our customers when they've gotten our lettuce, they didn't realize lettuce actually lasted that long. They didn't realize that carrots didn't necessarily have to go bad in 2 weeks. Like, if you get it right after it gets out of the ground, you have some time to use it. So like, you don't all have to get the bundle. You can also buy individual items. So yeah, check us out. Red Tractor Provisions.
Thanks, video. That was awesome. In general, your spiel, as well as showing us your website. I linked the website for y'all to check out. This will obviously be on the other thing that I'll show at the end of everyone's presentation. But yes, check them out on Instagram and Facebook Provision. Also, another FYI, some of you may or may not know, oh, there's a question here. Sydney asks, where do you pick up? Also, yeah, if anyone has questions, please feel free to start sending them in the chat, and then we can do a quick Q&A, and then we'll have a break after this. But Sydney asks, where do you pick up, and is it shipped?
So you can pick up at our retail location, that is 1614 Automotive Way, so the back of Pine State Coffee, and we also deliver to Raleigh, Durham, and Cary.
Yeah, I got a personal delivery on Wednesday, so you guys can choose when you get your when you want it to be delivered, which day, and I think it's generally 1 to 7 p.m. Right? That's the range.
That's correct. Yeah. So any time between 1 to 7.
Oh, yes. Awesome. So then does that mean all of your guys' produce is a week from the ground or from the source?
Pretty much. So like we have certain things like winter squashes that can last a little bit longer, but it's like generally something like okra or green beans, yeah, we got a week.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Anyone else have any questions? But yeah, I was gonna say, I've also linked, if you wanna check out www.justgildedcages.com, I've linked also Red Tractor on there if you wanna check it out. But yes, it's in the chat, but for reference for future, there is something on the Just Gilded Cages website. Awesome, 8:55, that's exactly when I planned to have this break. Thanks, Theo.
Sure.
This is exactly when I plan to have the break, so that's dope that I got it at 8:55. So we're gonna go ahead and just do a quick 5-minute break. Feel free to use the restroom, and then we'll meet back here at 9. Awesome. I decided before we bring on our next poet, I would share another piece. I wrote this back in April. I was super in a writing mood at the beginning of quarantine. I just wrote a ton of things. But for those who may be coming in right now or who may have come in a bit later, I just wanted to mention that this event, while it is the first spoken word event, there's definitely plans. There's definitely plans to have more of these events and also expand into not just poetry or prose, but also into visual arts, into music production, into rapping, just kind of all forms of expression. I want to showcase that. And don't know who came in just now with the moon emojis, but fuck yeah, moons and moon and stars. Okay, awesome. But yes, so we plan to have more events. So that's also why check out Just Gilded Cages. And you can add yourself to the listserv because we'll have more events, and it's going to expand into not just virtual art series, thanks Travis, but also into focusing, wait, what did I just say? Focusing on a lot of dialogue and holding space for conversation, because sometimes I have found that certain people may not be strapped with the communication skills that benefit them in different environments, different contexts. So there's virtual happy hours that allow me to bring kind of my network, and as you know, once you meet one network, it continues to expand. So I'm overall trying to connect with everyone who wants to leave this earth better than they found it. That's ultimately who I want to bring together. Is it still not working? Okay, cool. We have like a backstage chat with the performers, so people are like, it's not working, it's working. So that's kind of why I'm getting distracted. Okay, so it seems like you can see me, and if you don't, you should refresh your browser. But yes, so definitely check me out. I mean, technically it's under me, but I think Just Gilded Cages is a bigger project than just my name on it. So That's kind of why I say we. But Just Gilded Cages does come from this quote by Aldous Huxley where she says there's no such thing as liberty, there's just gilded cages. So knowing that, we live in a matrix, there's a lot of systemic injustices that we have to work with. How do we kind of dig ourselves out of this trench, basically, that prior generations have put us in without knowing or knowing? And how do we work with all of that? How do we break things that should never have existed to begin with, but now are so entrenched in the way that our culture is and who we are? How do we liberate ourselves from these toxic traditions? Which leads me, funny enough, into this piece that I wanted to share. And then I'll share this, and then we'll bring on our next poet. So this is written 4/24/2020. Yes, I did equate sleeping with a guy to be my way of paying for their attention. Too many stories led me to believe it was needed for me to give myself away for attention, and more frighteningly, my body for validation. Marriage came to exist because of royal families. Oh, hey Gina. Love it. Marriage came to exist because of royal families wanting to keep and expand their territory. It was to form alliances. It was to create future generations that would rule over the now expanded land. Fathers gave their daughters away because their virginity was prized for the breeding of future inheritance of family wealth. What is family wealth, by the way? How does it become family wealth? There's a lot of toxicity in the practices we haven't questioned for centuries. Just because we have always done it like this is never sufficient justification for the continuation of so-called tradition. Tradition is a social construct our previous generations used to get our buy-in so their unwillingness to change could be forgiven. But what is forgiveness? What does forgiveness feel like? What does thinking you're doing the right thing feel like? What about when you could do better? Do we always know better? What does dismantling tragedy look like? What does that feel like? I wonder how heavy the weight was for our parents to hold the space between the home they never wanted to leave, but were forced to say goodbye to, and the new soil they had arrived on, hoping for beauty and peace, only to find themselves being treated like aliens by the foreigners, who have only continued bullying us by the tone of our accents and the sound of our darkness. My parents' generation in America was crippled by their political past back home. To speak against your government was a sin. How would that past trauma combined with a new set of language and cultural barriers to overcome ever show signs of a downhill battle? My parents' suffering is one I've been analyzing more because it's helping me better understand where my trauma's roots lie. To be an immigrant's daughter has its own set of complications that psychology has not advanced enough to study. Resilience is not developed from stagnancy. It is built by understanding how to bend with and not against the wind. Each new generation learns new tools to bend with the wind. Perhaps our grandchildren will soon be able to bend the wind. Thank you. Thanks. Fucking love that you guys named your thing Tina and Tommy Beans. It's great. So we will bring on, thanks Gina, thanks Theo, thanks Diego. We will bring on our next performer, Diego Aviles, who, so some of my performers gave me bios, and his is Traveling My Soul Through Music.
Hey.
Hello.
What's up, y'all? Piece is called, it's a piece in Spanish. It's called A la orilla del mar. Which technically means shore, but it means at the ocean's feet. This summer, I found myself at the beach quite a lot. It's a refreshing place for me for many reasons. And it's just a reflection of how sometimes we're able to just shed our past selves behind and create something new from the ashes, everything we burn down about ourselves as we grow, as we evolve, as we go into the next plane. Hope y'all enjoy. Thanks. A la orilla del mar, ahí están tus ojos. Ahí están tus heridas, tus caricias, tu uniforme dejado atrás. A la orilla del mar se encuentra nada. Silencio sin fin, sin dirección, no hay compás. Ni compasión, ni unión, ni amor en cual caer. A la orilla del mar, ahí llevo mis sueños a morir, a renacer, a volver a ver, a construir, dejando lo que fui, a la orilla del mar. En tus senos se encuentran mis anhelos, la esperanza de vivir muy lejos de esto. La historia pasada de un hombre, el cual dejé de ser, el cual dejé de ver. Poco a poco nos encontramos. Un sentimiento atrevido, no dirigido ni corrupto o falso, verdadero y sincero, famoso y alienado, malo e escondido, bueno cuando quiere. A la orilla del mar, ahí nos veremos para construir el mundo que tanto queremos. A la orilla del mar. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. I love that you shared that in Spanish because motherfuckers can't understand. No, I'm kidding. But that was beautiful. Thank you. I love when people are authentic and share all of themselves. Something that I definitely want to continue working on normalizing, making sure that we feel like we can be ourselves, that we recognize that we are beautiful just by being us and that we are worthy, and not that people don't think this, but just in case, those of you who don't, remember that your value is not tied to the job title that you have. It is not tied to your ability to read. It is not tied to your ability to speak. Just keep that in mind. And then we have our next performer, Gina.
Can you see me? Oh, there you go.
Hey.
Hi. Well, hello everyone. My name is Gina Cantillo. First of all, I want to thank anyone here for sharing, for listening. And I want to confess something. This is the first time that I write something in English. I mean, I've been writing for a while, but always in Spanish. But well, I figured that if writing is not too fair to face our fears, what is it for, right? So here we go. Also, I want to dedicate this piece to anyone who's been through abuse, trauma, or loss. To any soul that might feel lost, alone, in the dark, or broken. Let this be a reminder that we can always, always take back our power if we are willing to go deep enough and face the truth. This piece is called Demons. It was just another night, just like so many others before. I was praying, seeking for answers, begging to an invisible God to show me the way, to heal me. And after another storm of tears and disappointment, drunk in agony and frustration, I decided to change my tactics. What else could I lose, right? So I started a reckless path that took me down to a rabbit hole, straight to hell. And when I find myself in the gates of the forbidden, I was finally not afraid. Open up. I came to face my demons, I yelled. I hear no answer, only the sounds of something burning, crisping, creeping in the other side. So I closed my eyes and I let myself loose inside my mind. I surrendered to the darkness inside. And suddenly I find myself in a cave full of mirrors. And I could hear screams echoing all around. They came from inside of me. I saw myself in the mirrors. I was on fire. But I was not screaming. My mouth was not screaming. It was my soul. It was locked in a cell created by myself. A cell of fear, guilt, and secrets. All those things I keep ignoring. All those years I pretend it was fine. All those feelings building up. They have turned into ghosts and demons. So I let myself break. I felt all the pain. I acknowledged all the atrocities, all the wrongs, all the lies, and I let them burn. It burned. They burned right. I burned free. Finally, unafraid of the truth, unafraid of myself, of the past, the future, and this impossible present. I even burned all of the poison that was consuming me. I turned into nothing, just dust flying in the wind. I opened my eyes. I was there. For the first time, I was there. Complete, fearless, divine, wild, and infinite. I realized that our demons only have the power that we gave them, and that the key to my freedom was inside me all of this time. That everything I needed to heal, I already had. I just needed to be brave enough to face it. Thank you.
Damn. Damn, girl. Woo! That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And also awesome that you did your first one in English. That was amazing. I love that. Next time you're gonna have to do one in Spanish. So funny enough, I met Gina at a random party. When I first moved here, it was a party full of like Central South Americans. And I realized that I didn't introduce that Gina's from Mexico, but she lives in North Carolina, just had a new baby. And when we met, I remember, well, so I'd come to this party alone. Long story short, we're gonna skip over a few things. But then Gina came over and just talked to me, and then we started talking. And right, Travis, first time in English, like what the fuck? And we both just started, I don't know how we got to it, but we just were like, hey, because it was also a party where a bunch of people were going on stage and performing. There was like a whole, honestly, band set up and people were singing, and they also, you know, of course, poetry is an art as well. So we're talking about how we write, but we don't often share our pieces, and how sometimes it's really scary. So that night we, you know, went on stage and we shared our pieces, and it was just such a cool thing to do with someone for the first time. And I love that we've continued our connection. And hi, Sharon. I love that we've continued our connection, and that I was able to bring her on tonight. And she did her first poem, at least when I first met her, she did her poem in Spanish and poem, or a poem in Spanish, and it was beautiful. And I remember it was about death, and yeah, it's fucking divine. Awesome. So now we have we have Spoken Watson, who is a poet, storyteller, and I like have these on the side of my notes and like totally forgot to, and writer with a background in philosophy. His first album, Haunted House Broken Homes, is out now on all streaming platforms, and you'll be able to see, once I share everyone's social media links, you'll see that Spoken Watson is on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Thank you so much, Tammie. So like I said, my name's Colin Watson, but most of my friends just call me Watson. Hey, Sam. Hey, Travis. How y'all doing? This is a piece called Paradise's Guillotine, and I'm really, really wordy because I was a philosophy undergrad and I never learned how to write poetry. I just learned how to write philosophy, which is different. It is a letter from a boy named Peace to his father War, and it's kind of in the middle of a series of letters that I'm writing. And so this is Paradise's Guillotine. Dear War, I made it to Capital today. They call it the greatest city in this or any age. Pretty easy when you write the history books. Every empire thinks they are the greatest on this terrestrial stage for either progressing beyond their contemporaries or returning to the roots of some mythological dynasty. In a word, utopia. It's the dream of a city that lays just outside the grasp of waking. I dream about it too. But the woke world has drone strikes and death camps and innocent people dying unceremoniously. So they built walls here in Capital to keep out the pesky sight of what their city is costing them. So I wandered through their markets, beneath banners preaching patriotism as religion. And I thought to myself, all these people are sheep, woefully ignorant of all the sweatshops that clothe their shopping malls. But then I stopped, realizing how quickly I was deprecating those very people to trademarks and cliches. It reminded me of a conversation I had before the war, before I left home. I met a man invited me to a bar on the edge of the city. I thought it might have been a date, but egg on my face, he had a wife, happily married. We got a few cheap beers and talked philosophy. He railed on about how all history was just clashing classes, violence the engine of progress. Every person was mechanically defined by gender, race, and socioeconomic status. Inevitably, the privileged few would rule and abuse those beneath them, so the revolution of the oppressed was just the march of history. So I asked him whether there was any point to us talking. After all, if we are nothing more than intersectional accidents, pushed and pulled by waves on a violent sea, aren't we just cogs in some machine? Is violence the only oil greasing the wheels of history? Must we erect the guillotines? He said, I don't want the violence, but I can't conceive of anything else. And I swear with that, I felt the weight of our whole bloody world history, with every sultan and slave master's hand raised high to the sky in tyranny. The indignity of denying a man his humanity and having the indignity to placate the divinities with piteous platitudes. Crimson games that gods do play. And I wondered whether your Jesus would have just picked up that crucifix and beaten Pontius over the head with it, had someone just had the guts to tell him it was pointless. But I can't get the taste iron out of my mouth, so I must either swallow this sword or spit it out. Dear Dad, I am trying to find my place in this age of war. And just because I cannot see beyond the brutality does not mean I have to believe that bloodshed is the right way. We are more than labels, attached or worn to nullify nuance. It denies dignity to reduce someone to these intersections of everything. History is complex. As much as any of its actors, as paradoxical as any of its actors, and I cannot pretend to understand its inner workings. Call it pragmatic or presumption, but I'm suspicious of anyone who claims they can. Maybe your God really is running everything behind the scenes, and maybe it's so irreducibly Byzantine as to make claims of being on the right side blasphemy. But in spite of that, I still believe in building a better city. I still believe in seeing justice flow through the streets like a river. I still believe that mercy can triumph over rage. If only she had room to breathe. Even if capital fails, I cannot give up on that dream. Anyways, stay safe. Maybe I'll see you again one day. Sincerely, peace. Anyways, thank you guys. I was gonna say I'm very wordy, so if you find the Instagram later, you can find Paradise's Guillotine in its entirety, and some of it might actually make sense. But thank you.
Thank you, Watson. That was awesome. I know you sent me your piece, but I didn't read it because I wanted to be surprised, but that was fucking dope. Thank you for the energy you brought. That was great. Drop that handle. Yeah, actually, since if y'all artists want to just drop your handles in the chat, feel free to do that. I will put a visual up, but if anyone wants to share, feel free to do that. Then people can check you out during this. But let's not get too distracted. We do have one last poet to kind of conclude our night. We have Nina Orteria. She is a teaching poet and artist from Raleigh, North Carolina. She writes about sight, Blackness, nature, and healing. She has a public mural poem at the corner of Corcoran and Ramseur Streets in downtown Durham.
I have two pieces that I'm going to read. The first is about my neighbors who just moved out last week, and so they didn't speak English. One of them did, their son, but there was a couple that also lived with them, his parents. They didn't speak any English, but we all with each other. They would share cigarettes. We would stand outside and smoke together. Sometimes we would talk to each other each in our own language, even though we didn't know what we were saying. And I opened my door last Saturday, and there was a note from them that they had moved away. So I'm going to begin with the note. Dear neighbor, I'm writing to tell you we are moving back to China. I'm very lucky to be your neighbor. Though we talked less, we cared about each other. I value the moment we laughed together. I hope you're healthy and happy all the time. Thank you for your company these days. Best, your neighbor. It might be said that tears are the fountain of youth. It might be said that asking and never receiving was a clue. Nothing lasts forever like the sky, any color but blue. Holding on past due, the milk curdled in the tube. A new leaf, a green lamp, without a man's stamp. My neighbors are moving back to China. My lover is moving back into the recesses of his own mind, all flirting with the second hand of time. And the deep gasp of grief is sublime. I cried, but my neighbors and I never spoke one word to each other in English, though sometimes we conversed each in our own tongue, picking up what was left between the tones, deciphering some. Chinese cigarettes, delicious lung. My painting I brought out onto the balcony to spray. She takes my hand, holding it with care this way, us both looking at something I made. Color speaks with the minimal effort of a sun ray. She strokes my hair, holding my hand, arm in arm, and together we held each other gazing. Blended colors stretched candid. One day, I opened my door to the breakup goodbye note. And I know I'll never be the same, though I might hope so. The color blue is rising in my throat. Evenings, we stood on the balcony together, blowing smoke. He chuckles and we exhale, a kind of meditation, inebriation. I feel the energy flowing itself, flowing across the sea. I hope in another life we will meet. You won't be the same you, and I won't be the same me. Who those people will be, we'll have to see. Summer fades from blue to green to black tourmaline. My heart holds up the shield. Monarchs float over the field, like Mozart in my ears. I'm certain that everything I touch isn't real. Dreaming is 50% of the deal, and I don't want it if it doesn't make me feel. My last poem, and the poem that will close the show, is called How to Relax While Skydiving and or Free Falling. In a dream, I wake up in a small aircraft above the clouds. It spins, I can feel the wind. The sky is blue and cloud blanket below a barrel roll, and we are falling. Breakneck speed, cars and concrete, up from depth. I don't know what to do with my body from a height. I tense, shocked, and fearless. How do I keep myself safe? Gripping my head low in my hands, repeating the low sky, I wonder if my neck will break the shadow of my tangled curls. And in the skydive, I realize it's the fall that makes you fly. The blue color of the sky, blue is the coolest color, sunlight scattered in all directions. And blue is the color of the ocean. Blue light travels in shorter, smaller waves. That white sunlight breaks up in our atmosphere a different way. I'm a Black woman, sometimes blue, but invisible to their gaze. I have to control my rage. I meditate, teach myself the measured breath, how to breathe in so I can lean in and listen up. The skydive isn't a crash, it's a jump. See, when your time comes, you don't always get to say goodbye to loved ones. Peace lily, carnation, incantation. The free fall isn't a choice, it's a force. To fall rapidly, to move under the force of gravity. It's not pretty. Physics and forces, and all I know is, yeah, I got your text, but when am I gonna see you next? The body is soft and it's Saturday night. My dad and my brother's in front of the screen made of light. I can see the wrist twist, neck swish. Our lives hang in the air like the ball before the point that makes the game shift. Mamba moment. Nobody's perfect, but your life is one extraordinary chance. One acorn seeds the forest, so what's the seed you plant? Board the plane, that's when the game changes, 40% less oxygen at altitude. I practice my slow breath before I go to sleep at night. You see, I gotta be able to breathe at a height. I motion. I'm falling, but I'm floating. Blue is the warmest color, what it's like when you lose control. Can't see as far as you did before. Can't plan the next moment even though you thought every factor was accounted for. Whether you jump or whether you fall, you'll feel some things you never felt before. Look forward to the calm on the other side of the door. Rumi wrote, people are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. That was beautiful. Thank you for sharing both your pieces. Definitely letting in just the comments go through right now and reacting to your pieces. Appreciate all of you. Yes, don't go back to sleep. If anything, right now is also telling us there are too many people who have been asleep. We cannot go back. We cannot afford that. I'm gonna keep letting folks comment, feel the energy. Thank you to everyone for being here with us, everyone for sharing, you know, whether it was that you were sharing a piece on stage or you were sharing something about yourself in your comments. Thank you for sharing your energy. Oh, hey, Gina. I love it. I love it so much. Yay. And again, yes, this was an awesome event. Definitely kind of scary because, you know, it's my first time I didn't throw this together, so let's be real. But, ooh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Nina. Looks like the ending comes from a piece by Rumi, and Nina's linked that in the chat for y'all to check out. This was definitely a beautiful, beautiful night. Thank you for coming out. You know, a big part of it before I even started all of this, people were asking me like, okay, what's the date? What's the theme? And it was kind of funny because I didn't have anything in mind. I wanted to, one, see if I even could bring in poets. So the fact that I brought in 7 of y'all, not including myself, like 7 of y'all. This is fucking amazing. I'm so excited for what's more to come. But I chose 9/11 because obviously the US has a history with this date, and I'm not saying anything about how it made people feel, but I know that it definitely had a very strong impact to, you know, all of our nation and all over the world. And I think it kind of, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for coming. You know, it was definitely a very sad moment for a lot of folks. It was a very pivotal moment for a lot of folks. And I just wanted to kind of, in a way, take back this date and show how powerful we can be individually as a community when we come together, when we redefine so many things, when we don't fall asleep, all of these things. So we're gonna have more of these events. Ultimately, you know, whoever you are out there, if you also know of others who wanna share a piece, this specific endeavor does start with local artists, but I want to bring in and feature artists all across the United States and different states as well. I just want to create more and more spaces and homes for people to be themselves and to share their thoughts, be vulnerable, be intimate with each other, and be honest, and just be beautiful in whatever shape and form we come in. I will go ahead and release all of y'all. This event does end at 10:30. You are obviously welcome to head out at any point in time. There's no pressure, of course, for you to stay. But there is a networking tab, which I honestly welcome all of you guys to check out. I think during times like now, it's so hard to meet new people, and I'm someone who loves meeting new people. So if you want to check it out, feel free to head over there. You know, it's kind of like Russian roulette, but the thing is, it's going to be a lot safer because we don't have creeps on here that I know of. And so feel free to check that out. You know, I'd love for people to meet all across the world. I think there's so many of us who are doing the work, but sometimes, you know, while you're doing the work, it's hard to feel like there's others doing it, or just the fact that, you know, it can be a lonely journey, it can feel very lonely. But yeah, so I just wanted to connect everyone, all these beautiful souls together through these virtual events, through the ability to network virtually. So feel free to hop on there. For now, I'm going to run a presentation slide, but feel free to continue messaging each other, networking. This event will close at 10:30, so keep that in mind, or sorry, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, so that's 9:30 Central, 8:30 Mountain, and 7:30 Pacific. So yes, have fun, and if you have any questions, reach out to me. The slides that I am going to run through now are going to also have everyone's handles. I mean, I know people posted their handles, but this way you can see it all in one.